Look what they did to Halo. To my Halo. To my precious Halo Combat Evolved. I can't believe it. I'm in shock. They've officially gone woke by adding a run button, but not just to the new Halo slop, to Halo Combat Evolved. Sprinting across the silent cartographer is just incorrect. They want you to forget about your history so they can replace it with their own version. Remember, in the words of George Orwell in 1984, who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. Now, of course, there's the really obvious Unreal pop-in and stutters, courtesy of the brilliant engineers over at Epic. There's a complete misunderstanding of the art style. Everything is shiny chrome on a 100,000-year-old space ring for some reason. Why is everything so visually noisy? Real-life beaches don't even look like this. Where's the clarity? I'm from Australia. I've seen plenty of beaches before. There isn't this much crap strewn around for no reason. Did they look at the Half-Life 2 vehicle missions and think that you need more crap on the ground that your vehicle can bump into? What are they doing here? Are the artists just trying to show off as much detail by putting crap everywhere as they can? I don't get what they're doing. Where's the clarity? Why does this structure that's clearly a handle for a silo have a big fucking spire on top of it? Did they even look up any of the Bungie documentation for the art? The 45-degree rule? This is just like any sleek sci-fi shape. This could be in some Web3 mobile Chinese slopper, not fucking Halo. Honestly, maybe this actually is the American century of humiliation. Maybe the Redditors were actually right about this, and it all started the moment Sprint was added to Halo. Now, the Halo cycle is real. What it is, though, is that whenever a new Halo game is announced with Sprint, the game obviously gets more attention because it's new, and this brings the tourists out of the woodwork to take a break from celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder and tell you why Sprint in Halo is actually good, and you're weird for even complaining about it. And then the game dies, and all the remaining fans go back to agreeing that Sprint doesn't belong, and they play the MCC, and then the cycle begins again when the next game is announced. Now to what this video is actually about, this idiotic statement. People have been posting this picture in defense of Sprint. After all, the Sprint button in this game is entirely optional. You can turn it off in the settings. That's a great compromise, right? That should please everyone. Wrong. This statement was stupid from the moment it was written. I've always wanted to tear this notion down for a while, and I guess now I've got the opportunity to do so. It seems I have to resort to food analogies. That's the level we're operating at right now, it seems like. Imagine two restaurants, a buffet and fine dining. Now, your buffet lets you eat whatever you want. It's trying to make as many people as possible happy. Usually it has options from all kinds of cuisine at hopefully reasonable quality. There are more expensive ones, and you really do have to pay a premium for them. And then there's fine dining. These usually have a very limited menu. They have some options to account for preference and also for the sake of accessibility, like different requirements, gluten-free, vegetarianism, things like that. People who actually know what they're doing will go into the restaurant and ask for what the chef recommends, because it's likely one of his strengths and one you will likely have the best experience with, because the chef probably knows what he's doing. That's what you're there for the chef's artship and authorship. If you've watched any Kitchen Nightmares, I want you to recall how often he tells these restaurants to reduce the size of their menu. Do one thing that they can actually do well, and actually focus on that. Now, you can probably figure out how it's analogous. With fine dining, you are there for the authorship, for the creativity of the head chef, and you are being guided through the experience on their terms. Have it your way is the Burger King slogan. With fine dining, you're along for the ride. Why? Because the head chef might know something you don't. He may have picked something up in his years of hard work and dedication in the field that may surprise and delight you, that may be enjoyable, that you might not have thought about. You just need to be willing to experience it on his terms. Now, how likely is that to happen at Burger King? Games like Portal, Dark Souls, or The Outer Wilds do not have difficulty settings. They have basic video, audio controls, etc., so you can access the experience. But past that point, you're playing on the developer's terms. Why? Because maybe in the millennia that they spent playtesting that they had to do to even make the game, they learnt something about human psychology, about fun, that you do not know. The Dark Souls director famously said, "We don't want to include a difficulty selection because we want to bring everyone to the same level of discussion with the same level of enjoyment. So we want everyone to first face the challenge and to overcome it in some way that suits them as a player." So in a sense, you do not control the buttons you press. The developer does, and they specifically want you to press buttons in a way that they think would be more fun for the player. And do you know what one of the best examples of this in gaming is? fucking Doom Eternal, dude. Why are we taking some random social media intern's Twitter take as church canon when every fucking developer interview for Doom Eternal in very clear terms said the opposite? Their entire philosophy for that game was the fun zone, i.e. they were constantly thinking about pushing players towards playing in a way that the devs decided is fun, in a way that the developers have decided is fun. It is literally my way or the highway, the video game. How many negative reviews centered around how they couldn't just use their favorite gun at all times and they had to constantly switch weapons and use the abilities? The original comment was referring to the canon, and the guy simply said he personally didn't like the feature. And that's literally a perfectly fine criticism to make. But the canon is pretty necessary for the game. It's needed for crowd control, it's a source for armor, it can stun enemies, and the game is constantly pushing you to use every tool at your disposal. Now, of course, some of the game addicts might say, well, I'm a pro, I've speedrun the game 50 times, and this canon actually it's not necessary to beat the game, but the first time playthrough is the most important for developers. Jamie Griesemer very recently said on Twitter, you only get one chance to make a first impression on the player. A second time player is already a fan. You've already converted them. And on the first playthrough, most players will rely on the canon. They will use every tool they need at their disposal. Most players will probably see it as necessary on their first time through. Now, with Halo, sprint is a fundamental game mechanic. It affects how large you make the levels, how fast you make the projectiles. If you have it in the game, you need to design with it in mind. Now, the developers of the original games have stated countless times that they rejected adding a sprint feature multiple times for reasons that I am sick of explaining over and over and over. So when you change that from the original, it changes how the game is played fundamentally. It hurts the pacing, given how the player in the demo just skipped a music cue that you're intended to hit. But can't you just switch it off? I mean, it's optional. Okay, let's break this down logically. If sprint is enabled by default, and you design the levels around sprint, then turning it off only handicaps you. It makes the game harder unnecessarily, more of a slog unnecessarily. You're not playing the developer intended experience. If it's enabled by default, but you design levels to work with no sprint, then the majority of first-time players get an unintended experience. They'll move through the level faster than intended. They'll break the pacing, especially on levels like 343 Guilty Spark, where tension's so important. They'll skip all of the music cues, for example. If it's disabled by default, but you design levels for sprint, again, a majority of players will get an unintended experience. They'll be moving through the levels too slowly. They won't be able to dodge projectiles, so on and so forth. And if it's disabled by default and you design levels for no sprint, then what's the fucking point of it at that rate? Just to move through the level quicker? Just give a jetpack at that point. Let us wall hack. Or just design the levels so that they aren't tedious to navigate through. If you're going to have sprint, then commit to it. It's a base feature, it's fundamental. But also, saying that, they already committed to it 3 times before in the past, and it never worked any of those times. So maybe have faith in what Halo is, just be brave and cut it. There are some games that take the buffet approach, Gmod for example. In that game you truly do control the buttons you press. Some even say the same thing about Halo. After all, that has a lot of customization in the multiplayer, but with things like Forge, they were paired with the file share. The idea was that Forge would mostly be used for the people in the community to take part in the same creative authorship process as the developers, to create their own experiences for other players, not for every single player to go without any guided or designed experience. So I'm hoping you see the difference here. That's also why it's so timely that this Google AI guy says that the most reasonable people would want to play games where they have complete control over the story, characters, and experience. And it's not surprising that this soulless slop farmer does not get games, or frankly art as a whole. Why read novels when choose your own adventure books exist? Because we're there for the authorship, for someone else's expertise. We really have elected to make some of the dumbest, most crass, and simply the most tasteless people in charge of our society. They're our elites. Honestly, we need noblesse oblige back in a big way. We need things to be mandatorily beautiful. We are sick of this ugliness and crassness. We see it enough in our daily lives with every new fucking building. We need artship, man. Frankly, the push for sprint is a psyop. Social theorist Michel Foucault talks about problematization, that is the process of how something becomes a problem of true and false, how something turns into a debate. There was no sprint debate for the original Halos. Nobody played through Halo Combat Evolved and begged for a run button at the time, but through the process of historical discourse, we're now told that it's so slow and impossible to play without sprinting. We can no longer take the basic movement mechanics for granted. The sprint debate is imposed post hoc on a time period where such debate didn't actually exist. It's not a coincidence that George Soros invested in Microsoft shortly before the release of Halo 3. They knew what Halo was and they feared it. They saw the movement, the beast they couldn't control. They specifically went after Halo because they knew Halo was for the patriots. Halo was for the beating heart of America, the honest, salt of the earth, the working man, the stars and the stripes. And to all you bots to defend the latest slop no matter what, I have some choice words for you. My bad. I forgot you were fragile. I forgot someone who doesn't even know me told you I'm the arsehole. I forgot that I'm the villain. I forgot that I always spread positivity, but you think I didn't. I forgot that hatred stems from people who hate their own existence. I forgot that I'm better off alone. I forgot I care for everyone's happiness, but forget about my own. I forgot I spend every waking second on my phone. Come join my circus. I'm recruiting. Halo fans, it's time to rise the frick up. You can fight back by joining the Nerd Army, subscribe to my channel, and like this video. Thanks for watching, and thanks for supporting me on Patreon.